So, I got some stuff to open. I think Jackery sent me a full solar generator to actually look at. I didn't know if I'd actually get my hands on the 1500. I wasn't specifically pursuing it. Like, I'm happy with the Jackeries I have. But this might cause me to sort of reevaluate how I might want to redistribute some things. But first, I want to do some really fun testing, comparisons, feel it out, and decide what I want the future of my system to be and what I can sort of pay it forward with. That decision is going to come down the line. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and unbox all this stuff. So there she is, the Jackery 1500. I have to say, I'm a little more impressed with the display in person than I was with it online. It's really, really bright, and from what I understand, it will give you more information than the old screen it used to. So we'll see when I actually use it in testing. This is just an unboxing and first impressions. I will say I'm continually impressed by Jackery's boxes. Like, the size of this thing for the amount of power it has is actually super, super, super impressive. Like, they know how to pack stuff in a box. I still don't know what this thing is for, but I guess there are people who find uses for it. And I certainly could. Like, I'm in here with one light that's temporarily wired. And before that, I was just using a lamp that I was plugging into my Jackery 1000. I do want to take a chance to put this side by side with its little brother, the 1000, and talk about some of the things that I like on that that's not present on this, but I'm not going to go over there and dig it out and unplug everything right now. I'll do that in the next video. This is just my first impressions. So what do you get in the box besides this Jackery 1500? Well, you get two of these guys, which are your parallel adapters. Now, this basically has two independent inputs that, from what I understand, each one can take about 300 watts of solar, which means even if I put 600 watts of solar on the roof, if I only ran it to one of these inputs, it wouldn't do anything. like, unfortunately, this is a new proprietary input, and I don't like it. It may be the reason that it can charge better from Jackery panels, but it's going to make it way harder to add non-Jackery panels to a Jackery product. Much like Apple, they're very much trying to make their connection point a proprietary thing. There is an adapter that I believe you can get from Jackery to change it back to 8mm, but it used to be out the box. This had compatibility with panels that were not Jackery, and it seems that they are determined to change that and have a proprietary input that you have to come to Jackery to get. Either you're going to have to come to them for a converter, or and write them separate because they're not going to advertise it, or you're going to have to use their panels for the easiest connection. Doesn't mean I don't like the unit, doesn't even mean I won't use the unit, but that is one of my initial issues. I don't really have any big issues. They've always had too few ports. I did say I wanted another 12-volt port. I haven't changed my mind. Another 12-volt port would be really, really, really nice. But it looks like a Jackery. It looks like a beautiful upgrade to the Jackery, actually. It looks like it belongs in the Jackery family. I am continually impressed by how portable their units are. Like, if you want something you can throw in the back of a truck and then take out at your campsite and set up, this is still super easy and kind of the best thing to set up. Now, you have these two parallel adapters. I am not going to pull out the solar panels today just because that would be a lot to pull out inside the box truck. But I do want to pull out these little adapter things. I started to open one. And this is one of many ways you could still use 8mm because this comes in the box. So if you want to get additional panels, because this allows you to use Jackery panels, and it also makes me wonder if the new 200-watt panel has their new proprietary adapter, hence why that flagship product is being released a little bit down the line. But anyway, you have your standard 8mm connection, and then you have the new proprietary connection that goes in here. Now, I will say this is a tighter connection. It's just that there's no way to get this connector, as far as I know, except through Jackery, and that's to me. So yeah, this is your normal, and this is the new connector. So what you could do is you could run your 8mm adapter into this and still be able to use a non-Jackery panel should you so desire. So editing Dawn here to talk to you real quick. I actually have the Jackery 1500 on my propane generator charging up just because I'm trying to get it charged as fast as possible so that I can shoot a review of it, running with it at 100% capacity. But I want to talk about this thing, and I'm just going to drop this into the unboxing video. And sorry about the noise of the generator. I have to have that running in the background. But so I said maybe you could hack this to get back to a standard 8mm port, because this is a new 8mm style that seems to be, as far as I can tell, if somebody else uncovers otherwise, this seems to be a proprietary connector that only works with the Jackery. And so for their old 8mm panels, you need to plug them into this, and you need at least two of them. You can't have one Jackery panel. Like, if you only have one Jackery 100-watt panel, you can't use this. This requires you to have at least two. And they do not include the adapter to use one panel in the box, and it kind of makes sense, to be honest, because this thing is so huge, one panel isn't going to get you anywhere. You need a minimum of two in one of those ports to get a decent amount of solar. But let's say you're like, I just want to use my roof solar like I am doing. And so you already have your MC4 to 8mm connector. Let me grab mine. So this is what most people have been using in order to use alternative panels with their Jackeries. There's an MC4 connection on one side, and there's an 8mm connection on the other side. Now, Jackery does have an adapter, so you can take this 8mm connector and turn it into this 8mm. Actually, it's not, I don't know what this is. This is like some kind of specialty connector. I'm not even going to call it that. This connector is also common in a lot of solar generators, such as Gold Zero and Blue Eddy products, and so it made it really flexible to work with some other products. I think even Rockpals has a foldable panel that is cheaper that uses this connector. But this connector cannot go directly into the Jackery 1500, and I'm assuming by extension the Jackery 2000. So this is provided so that you can branch to of these standard connections into the connector that the new 1500 and 2000 are going to use. And it may be, like I said, that those 200-watt panels have this connector, which makes them incompatible with anything smaller than the Jackery 1500. But I don't know that yet. Haven't confirmed it. But I thought, well, if you have this already connected to your roof solar, can you take this, plug it into here, and then plug this into your Jackery 1500? And you cannot. You have to have both of these covered, so you would have to have 2 of these connections running from your roof, and even then you could only harness maximum, if you're wired properly for it, 300 watts of solar, but the unit is capable of 600 watts, so you'd have to do this twice in order to do that. So just wanted to point that out, clear my own self up. You cannot use this to use one 8mm connection unless both of these ports are connected to solar or connected to an 8mm connection. They won't work. So you get 2 of these because you can use up to 4 panels, 2 per input. And each of these are independent inputs that can take about 300 watts, maybe a little bit less than that. I'm going to pop open the manual, but I believe this thing can charge at about 600 watts, but you have to be using both connectors. You can't run it all through one input, as I understand it, because Jackeries are designed for Jackery solar panels. So you get 2 of those, you get your user guide, manual, whatever, and then you get your normal warranty card, which tells you you can get an extra 12 months. You get 24 out the box, you get an extra 12 months. And I will say, I do like that. I like that that's continuing to be offered. Some people feel like 3 years isn't enough, and that the unit, obviously they're making it that way because they're planning for the unit to die in 3 years. This unit will not die in 3 years. In 3 years, it will go on to continue to function. Alright, so what else we got here? It has all the charging times in here, but remember, with anything they list for solar, because for their solar panels, with 2 100-watt solar panels, it says around 9.5 hours, but they're assuming that you're in perfect solar conditions. That rarely ever happens. And it basically tells you all the things, how to hook it up, you know, how to use the unit. I'm going to go through this manual before I do a complete breakdown. Then you have your charge connector. This one looks a lot like the one that came with the Jackery 300. I had a very plain one that came with the Jackery 1000. It has the new proprietary connector that connects right into here. Now the cool thing about these dual connectors is, in theory, you could have solar on one side, and then you could run an extension cable from here to your car while you're driving. Now that is an advancement in technology, because it used to be, if you wanted to charge through your car as well as charge by solar or whatever other source you're using, then you would have to unplug what you had plugged in and plug in the new thing. Unplug what you had plugged in and plug in a new thing. So you had to mentally remember, if you were hooked up to roof panels like I was, I'm about to drive, it's nighttime, I'd like to use some of that power to top off my battery. So you had to remember to get your Jackery, you had to remember to get your cable, and you had to remember to make the new connection. In theory, with this, you could set it up with 2 different inputs, and it could be getting actually a charging source from 2 places, even AC. Like, let's say you have this plus your own house system with an inverter, and this is the thing you grab to go outside. Well, technically, you could have this plugged into your inverter. By the way, this wall wart brick thing is huge. And you could also have it plugged into a couple of Jackery solar panels or something like that, in theory. Now, those would all be weird setups, because making that work would depend on the size of your vehicle and your arrangement, but you have that there. So you have your 12-volt cable, and then you have your wall wart. And it is huge. And this is basically what you can use to charge from wall power. So yeah, this is a pretty impressive unit. I like the size. I expected it, in comparison to the Jackery 1000, to be much bigger. It's a little weighty, but like I said, compared to most units in this sort of range as far as power, it's still really freaking portable. Like, it's not dire to carry this around. Now, you don't want to go on a hike with it, but as far as like taking it in and out the back of your pickup truck or your SUV, it wouldn't be that hard at all. So yeah, my first impressions is it's a Jackery. I know it's going to perform well. I mean, I'm going to test it, use it, see how it works. But Jackery performs well. They are the Apple of power stations, like it or not. There are plenty of other choices you can make in the size category with differentiating price points, but as far as like aesthetics, number one, aesthetically, Jackeries are just freaking beautiful to me. Some people hate this raised handle. I really like it. I think aesthetically, the Jackery is one of the nicer units out there, and I like that this handle is already here. I'm not fumbling trying to pull it up. And especially because it's portable, having that handle readily available really, really does help. So I really like the handle. I actually like the new screen way better than I thought I would. Obviously I haven't charged it yet. Like, it just has the 27% it had out of the box. We'll see how I like this stuff. So this is cool. So there we go. We got these ports activated. So you get little displays on the screen as you activate each port. I'm sure as you plug things in, the screen will react to that. I don't know. It's a great unit. It's a great unit. I only have two big complaints so far, and these will probably stay my complaints. They were kind of my complaints on launch day. Well, one of them was my complaint on launch day, and that was the amount of 12-volt ports. I know people are like, they're targeting people in houses. They're targeting people who have power outages. No, they're not. Okay? What is on the front of here? It's people camping. They're targeting camping. They're targeting camping. So this is about camping. This is about people who are off grid. And I realize people in a house will want to grab their household items and take them with them on the road. Hair dryers for women, maybe shavers for men. I don't know. You can use a non-electric shaver. There's stuff in your house you might want to. You want to bring your blender, your electric coffee maker. You may not want to do pour over coffee. You want to bring your electric coffee maker, and this could run that. It could run it really easily. And if it's charged to 100%, and you take it on a weekend trip, you may never have to hook it to solar. You could probably take it on a weekend trip. If your power needs are really reasonable, you can use it that whole weekend, bring it home, stick it on the wall, plug it back in, put it in the closet, and your next camping trip, pull it out and take it with you camping. This is great for that. For people who are living full-time, they're not really going to get a break in the system. They need their battery to always be there. Now, you can do the thing. I know a lot of people have power stations, have multiple power stations. So they have one they're using and one they're charging, and then they switch them out. And that works great for a lot of people. And they love that system, and it simplified things for them, and it works for them. And a couple of Jackeries are great for that in, like, the Jackery 500 category. But this thing costs, like, $1,500. You're probably not going to get two of these, and if you get the whole solar generator kit, it costs way more than that because the solar panels are fairly expensive. Are they worth the expense? If you want the most efficient charging by solar, yes. If you like using ground panels and they complement your setup, yes. If you're like me, no. I might have been slightly obtuse about where the Jackery panels are useful, but I think a lot of what I said still holds true. So I'm not a big fan of this proprietary port. Will the 1500 work? I have every confidence that it will. But there's no point me talking anymore about it. Out of the box, beautiful machine. Probably will work excellently. Have no doubt about their machine functioning. Their machines always function, but we'll see how it actually does under test. I definitely want to get it charged up to 100% first. And I'm not a big fan of the proprietary new adapter thing, and I'm under the impression that maybe the new 200-watt panels have this connector instead of your standard 8mm connector. Unlike the upgraded 100-watt panels, of which I've been sent 4, so I actually can test this thing with 4 panels. And that's all she wrote. I'll catch up with you in an actual review video. So, there you go. What do you think of the Jackery 1500? Do you wish it had more 12-volt ports? I know it seems like a silly thing to nitpick, but just right now, like, I have a fridge, a freezer, and a fan that all use 12 volt. And when you use an inverter, the inverter needs power just to power itself, let alone power the device that you're plugging in. So it would just make it so much more efficient But is this a dumb gripe, guys? I mean, you tell me. Well, anyway, thanks for watching yet another video. I love that you're here. I hope you come back. And if you want to come back, the easiest way to get notified about new videos is to hit that subscribe button right underneath the video. If you like this video, you can give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, you can give it a thumbs down. And if you want to expand on your opinion of it, you can leave a comment. Thank you so much to my Patreon and YouTube membership supporters. I am astounded and humbled every day that people want to join me on those platforms. See you in the next video.